Hello and welcome to Listen Bro. According to our analytics, this show is nobody's favorite podcast, but we're still doing it, I guess. As always, I am here. My name is Ethan, and I'm with my brother and co-host.
I'm Joe.
I'm not going to waste any time because my story is going to drag on. So,
Well, you
if you're
left us at a
listening-
cliffhanger last time. I wanted to hear more.
I did, yeah. Rate, review, like, follow, subscribe, whatever your platform will allow you to do for the podcast. Check out our Instagram, Listen Bro Pod. And Joe, do you remember where we left off?
Was it getting into the Revolutionary War soon?
Yes, we were very close to that.
Yep.
We left off with...
It was the Boston Tea Party just happened.
And the coercive acts implemented by England.
Yeah,
as
making
punishment.
Military stay in people's houses, which I had no clue why that amendment was ever a thing like that. But that makes sense now as to why that's in there.
Yeah, and they established military rule over the entire colony of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Closed the port in Boston. Lots of stuff that really infuriated people. We also had the Boston Massacre, where British troops fired on an angry mob and killed a handful of civilians. So when I left it off, I told you that the colonies had agreed to call the First Continental Congress following the implementation of those coercive acts. Now, if you're joining for the first time, I am attempting to tell the entire story of American history from Christopher Columbus to 9/11. And this is the third part of that. And I do have a confession to make.
Okay.
I told you that I would get all the way through the end of the Revolutionary War in this episode.
We're not, are we?
We're not even close.
Oh my goodness.
I wrote until I had almost double the amount of notes that I normally do.
Wow.
And I wasn't even 3 months in. So I will probably speed through a lot of it in the next episode. The beginning of it sets the tone, I think. So
yeah,
we'll see. I've said that in every episode so far. But let's get into it. We left off with the First Continental Congress being called following the coercive acts imposed by Britain. From September 5th through October 26th in 1774, delegates from 12 colonies, Georgia did not send anyone, met in Carpenter's Hall in Philadelphia to discuss America's future. And you may have heard of Independence Hall. It's on the back of one of our bills, money.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one, but maybe
I've
the
heard
10.
of it.
I think it's on the back of the 10. So Carpenter's Hall was not the government building in Philadelphia. That would have been Independence Hall. And they decided to join in Carpenter's Hall because they were not an official government. They didn't want to look like they were just implementing themselves as government to the people. So they met in Carpenter's Hall. And Georgia did not attend. And if you remember in the last episode, I talked about how Georgia's form of government, they were led not by elected representatives. There was like a group of investors that were in charge. So that's probably why they didn't send anybody. I didn't look into that very far. But 12 of the colonies are in attendance. And some notable people that were there were John Adams and Samuel Adams. Those two guys were actually cousins. Patrick Henry, who had the famous line, "Give me liberty or give me death."
Okay.
John Jay, who I'll probably talk about in a future episode, he wrote a handful of the Federalist Papers and had quite the political career, John Jay. And then we also had George Washington in attendance. He was an elected member to the colonial government of Virginia at the time.
Okay.
Peyton Randolph, who was the cousin of Thomas Jefferson, was named the president of the Continental Congress. So Peyton Randolph was the first president of the United States of America. Sort of.
Okay.
Colonies, they had been holding committees of correspondences, is what they called them, of their own, in response to these British taxes and things that England was doing. But they realized that they would need to join together as a unified front. So they called this Continental Congress.
Okay.
In Suffolk County, Massachusetts, delegates from Boston and other towns had gathered to make their intentions clear in writing. This was before the Continental Congress. This was one of those state or colonial committees of correspondence. They resolved to stop paying taxes or obeying the other provisions of the Intolerable Acts, also known as the Coercive Acts. And remember, following the Boston Tea Party, Massachusetts was placed under British military rule. The Suffolk, these things that they wrote down became known as the Suffolk Resolves, and they were delivered to the Continental Congress in Philadelphia by Paul Revere.
Ah.
And Congress's first order of business was endorsing the Suffolk Resolves by unanimous vote, basically adopting them for all the colonies. The delegates also worked on a continental association, which called for a boycott of British imports starting in December 1774, and an end to exports to Britain from the colonies by September 1775, if the coercive acts were not repealed. So if they would repeal the acts, they would go back to doing business as normal. And then local and colony-wide committees would enforce these rules and would be allowed to inspect shipments just to make sure all the colonies were actually sticking to what they agreed on.
Yeah, makes sense.
One important thing to note, though, is that the delegates in the colonies remained loyal to Britain. They did not meet with the intention of starting a revolution. They just wanted to be treated fairly as Englishmen. Now, Congress also debated a statement of American rights, and this debate dragged on for weeks. Eventually, these things were put in writing, and you can finish this phrase when you think you know how it ends. And they wrote a document called the Declaration of
Independence.
No.
Dang.
This was the Declaration of Rights and Grievances.
I had never heard of that one.
Yeah, no, I figured I intended to lead you down the wrong path there.
Yep, I fell right into it.
Now, Declaration of Rights and Grievances, just kind of like with the Suffolk Resolves, putting these things in writing to deliver a formal message to the king. And Benjamin Franklin was in England as a colonial agent. And remember how I said in the last episode that Pennsylvania had a colonial agent to represent the colony of Pennsylvania?
Okay,
and Benjamin Franklin, I think I mentioned he was in that role for quite a while. This is what he was doing at the time. But he would deliver this Declaration of Rights and Grievances to the king. You'd be sent to Benjamin Franklin to deliver.
Okay.
And Congress, they said, you know what, we're sending him this. We need to give him time to respond. So they planned to call a second Continental Congress the following May. That would be May 1775.
Okay.
So they said, you know, we're taking a break from October to May. Give them time to respond. If they respond the way we want, we'll go back to being normal. So what do you think England did?
They did not like it. They did not reply nicely.
Yeah, so King George signed what was called the New England Restraining Act into law on March 30th, which required New England to trade exclusively with Britain and banned colonists from fishing in the North Atlantic. So yeah, not exactly. Very similar to the entire last episode. Now, things get interesting here because a few months earlier, in January 1775, before they signed the New England Restraining Act, the British Prime Minister sent orders to British General Thomas Gage to march on Concord, Massachusetts, to destroy armament stockpiles in the town, and to take John Hancock and Samuel Adams into custody. On the night of April 18th, 1775, 700 British troops marched from Boston toward Concord. Patriot leader...
Is that when the British are coming thing happened?
We'll get to it.
Okay, sorry.
Your intuition is correct, but we'll get to it.
Okay,
okay. Patriot leader, and if I say patriot, this is American. Right?
Yeah.
You have the patriots, and then the loyalists are loyal to Britain. So the Patriot leader, Dr. Joseph Warren, was alerted that British troops are moving and sent for Paul Revere and another man named William Dawes. And Warren sent the two men. He gave them different routes to go on to alert the Massachusetts Minutemen, which was like their quick response militia. So they'd alert them and then just the rest of the militia in the area. Paul Revere and Dawes, they met and went. Their paths would converge at a certain point. So they met up there, having delivered their message, and went to Lexington in Massachusetts to warn John Hancock and Samuel Adams, and then attempted to make their way to Concord because that's where the armament supplies were. So they were going to continue warning people that whole way.
Okay.
Revere wound up being captured by a British patrol and interrogated. But he was let go, but they didn't give him his horse. They stole his horse from him. So he was let go on foot.
Had to be one heck of a horse.
Yeah. At dawn on April 19th, the 700 British troops arrived in a field in Lexington, 700 of them, to find 77 militiamen waiting for them.
Ooh.
It's like a 10-1.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Nobody knows which side fired first. When the smoke cleared, 8 militiamen were dead, with 9 wounded, and only 1 of the British redcoats was injured.
Oh.
The British continued on to Concord, but the munitions stored there that they were after, they had been dispersed and relocated.
Okay.
The warning got there in time.
Yeah.
They burned up what they could find and continued searching in the town. Militiamen rushed to Concord's North Bridge, which was being defended by British soldiers. The British fired first, but fell back when the colonists returned fire. And this incident here at Concord's North Bridge, this is actually the shot that was described as the shot heard round the world. It was, that phrase is from a poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he describes the North Bridge shot heard round the world. A lot of people just associate it with the battle at Lexington because that's the first shots fired in this battle.
Yeah.
But at this North Bridge, 2 colonists were killed and 3 redcoats were killed. After searching Concord for several hours to try to find the rest of the armaments, the British were ready to return to Boston. More militiamen were arriving. As the message got out, people just started heading there.
Yeah.
So as the British troops are ready to turn back and go back to Boston, more and more and more militiamen are arriving, and they start following the British. Fighting would break out, with militiamen firing from behind trees and walls. And they're basically just bombarding them over and over again, like different groups of the militia. They're coming in and come across these British troops, so they just like hide out, wait for them to come by and start shooting. So they're just constantly being peppered with shots on this trip. British troops were actually said to be abandoning weapons and equipment to retreat faster.
I bet.
Because remember, this is days of muskets. You're not reloading quickly.
Yeah. Yep.
British reinforcements had made their way into Lexington. So when they got back to Lexington, they had some reinforcements, but the colonists just kept attacking them until the British reached safety when they got back toward the water where they had naval support. Now, as many as 3,500 colonists took part in the battle. At the end of the day, there were approximately 90 Americans killed or wounded, but the Redcoats had around 250 casualties.
Wow.
So, the Patriot forces had proven they could stand up to one of the most powerful armies in the world.
Yeah.
And this is like that good old American spirit, bunch of good old boys coming out of the woodworks.
Yeah, that's literally what this is. Like, it's just a bunch of guys that got together and was like, we're going to stand for this right now.
Yep, they were ready to defend themselves.
Yeah.
On May 10th, so fast forward, that ends the Battle of Lexington and Concord. On May 10th, and this would be the same day that the Second Continental Congress convened, American forces had their first offensive victory in the war.
Oh, okay.
There was a Vermont militia group known as the Green Mountain Boys, led by a man named Ethan Allen. And this is a story that I can remember the first time I was ever taught it in like 3rd grade.
Because he had the same name as you?
Yeah, and I don't know if you have that. Like, the name Joseph is way more common to come across in history.
Yeah.
I honestly can't think of another instance where I came across an Ethan in history. So I always remembered this story. But Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys, and they joined up with a militia officer, Colonel Benedict Arnold, who was given a commission by the Massachusetts provincial government to command a secret mission to capture Fort Ticonderoga. So Colonel Benedict Arnold has a legit mission given to him. Go capture this fort. But he didn't have troops. He was hoping to collect people along the way. Now, Fort Ticonderoga is located on the border of Vermont and New York, right between Lake George and Lake Champlain. It was a strategic location during the French and Indian War, a very important location during that war, and it controlled access north and south between Albany and Montreal, like a water route between the two.
Okay.
And this is like right in the middle of it, right on the water. Now, like I said, Benedict Arnold didn't have troops when he was given this mission. He was hoping to recruit people and put a little force together. Benedict Arnold learned that Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys, wouldn't you know it, they're already on their way, didn't know he was coming. They were going to go to capture that fort. And Ethan Allen had no official backing from any type of government for this attack.
Wow, so he was literally just going rogue with it.
Yeah, they're just the militia out there. So Benedict Arnold wants to be in charge because he does have military rank. He has an official commission from the government. But he is warned by people when he starts joining up with Ethan Allen that, like, hey, they'll go and fight with you, but the Green Mountain Boys are not going to take orders from anybody else. So Benedict Arnold and Ethan Allen agree to share command.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of funny.
Yeah.
They had about 150 total men, and around 1:30 in the morning on May 10th, they load their boats up with about 80 people. That's all their boats could fit. And they cross Lake Champlain to arrive at Fort Ticonderoga under the cover of darkness.
Okay.
The plan was to wait until the boats could go back, pick up the rest of them, and return to have their full force. But dawn was approaching, and Benedict Arnold and Ethan Allen decided to attack with the 80 men that they had, because if they waited, they would give up the element of surprise. And it's a good thing they did. Nobody was killed in the attack, in the British surrender.
Okay.
They basically just stormed in, caught them completely off guard.
Yeah.
Stormed in like, hey, we're taking this fort. And I think there were only like 50 British soldiers there, so they did have them outnumbered, but
yeah,
caught them completely off guard.
But still, for it to be a fort.
Yeah. These good old boys, the Green Mountain Boys, they plunder the fort looking for anything that's worth anything, and they celebrate their victory by getting drunk. And they did this first thing in the morning, and this irritated Benedict Arnold. But eventually, Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys leave, and Benedict Arnold stays behind in command of this fort until relieved of duty in June when somebody else came in and took over. And now all of this fighting, Lexington and Concord, Fort Ticonderoga, all this happens before the Second Continental Congress convened in Philadelphia. That happened on May 10th, the same day as Fort Ticonderoga.
Okay.
This Congress included many of the same delegates as the first one, but notable additions included Benjamin Franklin and John Hancock, and one delegate representing a single parish of Georgia. Now, you see this sometimes with southern states. We use counties. They broke up their territory into parishes. Same thing as county.
Okay.
Only one delegate representing a single parish of Georgia was there. And eventually, the colony of Georgia would send a proper delegation for the entire colony.
Okay.
And this Second Continental Congress, they write what they call the Olive Branch Petition. It's another effort. They write a letter to the king as a chance for reconciliation without war. This letter was written by Thomas Jefferson and edited by John Dickinson. It emphasized colonial willingness to remain loyal to Britain. Once again, they are willing to be loyal to Britain. But, again, put their foot down, seeking the rights of British citizens.
Which is fair.
Yeah, and this petition was approved by Congress on July 5th, 1775, and taken to London by Richard Penn, who is the grandson of William Penn.
Okay.
So he goes to London with it. Now, while the Continental Congress was working on this petition, there were militiamen gathering on the hills surrounding Boston. On June 15th and 16th, the Patriots moved to a location called Breed's Hill on the Charlestown Peninsula, which is just north of Boston, just across the water from Boston. And they start building fortified positions. And British officers in Boston are kind of seeing them do this, but they wake up the next morning and they are kind of shocked at how much these Americans built over the course of just one evening.
Yeah.
They fortifying their position there.
Mm-hmm.
On June 17th, just the next day, General Thomas Gage, same guy that marched troops toward Lexington and Concord, he has other British commanders under him. They give the order to move troops across the Boston Harbor to the Charlestown Peninsula, starting the Battle of Bunker Hill. And you might say, Battle of Bunker Hill? I thought you said it was Breed's Hill. Well, that's correct. They were a couple hills very close together and kind of connected. So it was like two separate peaks, but one piece of terrain.
Okay.
So the British troops move across the water on their boats. They hit land and they start climbing this hill toward the Patriot fortification. And they execute this in perfect battle formation, it was said. And there's an American officer named William Prescott, who some people have said that he told his troops, don't waste your powder, don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes. As the British approached, the Patriots unleash a volley of fire, slaughtering the British, forcing them to retreat back down the hill. The British, and they waited till they were close. They weren't wasting, they waited till they had decent shots. The British, they come back a second time with the same result. So they come back a third time. And on this attempt, just as the Patriots are running out of gunpowder and shot, the British break through the fortifications. Hand-to-hand fighting ensued, and the British are victorious, but at a cost.
Oh, yeah.
Now, they're victorious because they took the position. They took over the location. 282 British troops were dead, with another 800 wounded. The Americans lost 115 lives, with 300 wounded and then 30 either missing or captured. It was a tactical victory for the British, but
at what cost?
Once again, the Americans proved themselves in battle.
Yeah.
And the British abandoned plans to try to take another high point near Boston after that.
They learned from their lesson there.
Yeah. Now, there would be a lot of little skirmishes and stuff around Boston, and this is referred to as the Siege of Boston. And it took almost a year where there was this Siege of Boston, which eventually resulted in British evacuation in March of 1776. So the Patriots end up pushing them out of there.
Okay.
Which we'll probably talk about more in the next episode. But I remember Fort Ticonderoga, British fort.
Yeah.
One thing that fort had was supplies.
Okay.
So cannons were brought from Fort Ticonderoga to Boston and used in this siege of Boston. And this was a huge armament upgrade for the Patriots. They now had legit cannons.
Yeah.
So, anyways, you have all this stuff going on while the Second Continental Congress is in session. And despite putting together that olive branch petition I talked about, trying to get peace, they knew they had to prepare for war. They knew, it'd be foolish to seek peace and not at least prepare for the alternative. And remember, they're working on that olive branch petition as this Battle of Bunker Hill is going on. So they established the Continental Army. Before this, it was just a bunch of militia groups. So they established Continental Army and adopt a set of military regulations. They approve bills of credit to pay the troops.
Okay.
And start working on figuring out who to appoint commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. And there were several men considered, but ultimately George Washington would be selected. He had military and combat experience, which was good, but he never led an army anywhere near the size of what, he'd be taking on here.
Yeah, and we heard in a different episode what young George Washington did.
That's right. If you go back a few episodes, George Washington started a war in his early days in the military. Yeah, but like I said, he never led a large army, and at this point you have just a bunch of militia groups. They're not super coordinated, and they don't have any training. There's no real organization there.
Yeah, that's what's crazy about this.
Yeah, it's not just, hey, you're in charge of the army. It's no, you are in charge of commanding and building the army. And another point behind the decision to make George Washington the commander was they really needed to unite all of the colonies to make it a true continental army. Because remember, pretty much everything so far, aside from Fort Ticonderoga, has taken place in Massachusetts. And George Washington was a well-respected man from Virginia. He was an elected representative there. And Virginia was the colony with the highest population and the greatest wealth. So they really needed the support of Virginia in this. Choosing Washington was a way to bring southern colonies into the fight, making the war a common cause of all the American colonies. Because, you can imagine if you appointed a Massachusetts militia officer.
Yeah, it'd be okay, but this is your battle. We need to get involved. But
exactly.
Yeah.
Washington seemed genuinely humbled by the appointment. He said in his acceptance speech, "I am truly sensible of the high honor done me in this appointment. I do not think myself equal to the command I am honored with." He expressed in private letters similar things. He told somebody that the date that I take command of the army is the date that my reputation will change, my fate will be sealed, those types of things. This is not going to go well. Now,
yeah, he knew it was a big undertaking.
Right. He had also been attending the Continental Congress in his military uniform. What I think this was, I think he wanted the appointment, but I think when he actually got it, it was a
what did I get myself into?
Yeah, a sobering experience. I could just imagine him being pale in the face, holy crap, they actually picked me.
Well, now it's okay, well, if they cut the head off a snake,
right,
he's who they're going to be going for.
Right.
So
there's a lot of people and it is a little bit comical that he's been showing up in his military uniform while they're trying to decide who should lead the army. But like I said, I think he genuinely was shook up once he was officially appointed. He refused to take a salary because he was a wealthy farmer, and he pledged his allegiance to the American cause and also obedience to the civilian authorities in Congress. So he still he worked for Congress, below Congress, above all the military, that was kind of his stance.
Okay.
Another attribute that led to George Washington being chosen for the job was just his character. And some people, and you can look back in all of history, some people were a little bit afraid if you appoint the wrong person. You give this guy a great amount of power as a military leader. And if they win this war, is that guy going to give up his power?
Yeah.
Or is he going to set up a monarchy of sorts in America, something they're fighting against? So that was a fear.
It's reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at Napoleon, military leader. All these English monarchs over thousands of years. It was, you raise an army, you overthrow the government, you led that army, now you're in charge. Washington was trusted. People really trusted his character. So they believed that he would do the right thing. And he did. He did do the right thing at the end of the war. And he officially took command of the Continental Army on July 3rd, 1775. Now, across the pond, they send Richard Penn with the Olive Branch petition. And this timeline is a little bit jumbled because a lot of the stuff that was going on in the Continental Congress took like a month and a half, 2 months. And within that time frame, you have Battle of Bunker Hill. They're writing the Olive Branch petition. They're appointing George Washington as commander.
Yeah. Kind of like I heard something about like during World War I think it was, after the surrender, there was still battles going on until the word got around. So like that's kind of this type of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening at the same time. That Olive Branch petition was approved by the Congress on July 5th, 1775, so 2 days after George Washington took command.
Okay.
And they send it with Richard Penn to London, and what do you think happens?
They double down.
King George refused to even look at the Olive Branch petition.
Yeah.
He refused to meet the people from America, and he declared the colonies to be in a state of rebellion.
Kind of. I mean, he's not wrong in that one, but...
Well, I mean, what they sent was a letter saying, we want peace.
Yeah.
We don't want to go to war with you. We just want to be treated fairly.
Yep.
And he refuses to look at it, refuses to meet with those people that were sent, and says the colonies are in rebellion. So that is where we will pick up next week.
Have you ever watched the musical Hamilton on Disney?
No.
I am kind of picking out bits and pieces of this, like, okay, so that's where this lines up with Hamilton. And
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
But there's a line that they have King George sing in Hamilton that's like, this is the price you'll pay for my love.
Oh.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't come across Alexander Hamilton yet.
Okay.
But he is an aide to George Washington during the war.
Yeah. And I know he plays a little bit bigger of a part after the war. But...
He definitely plays a bigger part after the war with like actually writing the Constitution. He serves in government while George Washington is president. He's actually a very close ally of George Washington for all of his political career.
Yeah, after the war, he went back to New York.
Yeah.
That's a line from the musical. Okay. Anybody that knows it will understand that one.
Yeah. But yeah, we will definitely get into him. Probably come across him in the next episode. I am going to genuinely try to not get into the details of all the little things.
Okay.
Over the next episode, because this time I was getting into the different battles and like, I want to just tell the story of these battles. So
you should definitely give it a watch sometime though.
Yeah, I should. I've seen it pop up as recommended and like, I don't know. One of these days I'll watch it. But
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens though. So in the next episode it will be like mentioning this battle and here's who won and lost, not going into details.
Okay.
But it's going to be a lot.
All
right. Maybe it'll take more episodes. You could make an entire podcast series on just the American Revolution.
Oh, I'm sure.
So
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure you could do a whole nother one on the Civil War after that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I should mention I watched this YouTube video, a couple of videos. There's like an overview of the American Revolution, and it's a channel called Oversimplified. And they have these like cartoony sketches of things happening. And it's a bit comical, but also gives a really good overview in a couple. I think it's 2 parts. Each part's like 15 minutes, but oversimplified YouTube channel, The American Revolution. Yeah. Entertaining if you want more of that content, but that is all I have this week. What do you got?
Mine's a complete different turn as usual.
Really? I can't believe you didn't decide to do the American Revolution this week.
I know, right? So, are you aware that there's I'm sure you've heard of the Florida Keys Reef?
Yeah.
At least. Are you aware that it's like dying?
No.
So, since the early 1900s, there's actually been attempts at saving this reef, and like it plays a huge part in it breaks up some waves so that way there's not as many giant waves hitting shore. It kind of protects a lot of the Gulf area a little bit too, because it does go down south like that far enough.
How is it on like the west side of Florida?
It's on the
like on the tip, I guess.
It's on the tip and then kind of curves west as it like it's goes south mainly, but it kind of curves towards the west.
Okay.
So I'd say it starts at the left side of the tip of Florida, but then kind of curves west as it goes south. But in recent years, they've actually started making some pretty good headways with recovering this reef back to its former glory. And they can actually track kind of what made me think of this topic was actually you covering American history some, because they can track it back to some of the first ships that they had land at the southern end of Florida.
Really?
Actually played a part in destroying it in a very minor way, but
yeah,
I mean, it kind of snowballs from there. So some of the biggest causes of the damage to it have been anchors, chains running across the bottom, ships grounding, pollution, storms, disease, overfishing, and poaching for the aquarium hobby. They've actually made some fish go extinct in the wild.
It's your fault, Joe.
Yep, I know. I love aquariums, but I hate to see it whenever that does destroy ecosystems a little bit. But yeah, that actually the aquarium trade did play a part in it.
Yeah. And that's the case with a lot of wildlife stuff that like extinction.
Yeah. Yep. The one, this is kind of off topic from this, but the one that is not due to taking the animals out of their natural habitat is axolotls. They are from the mountains of Mexico, and their entire like environment where they would be native to is dried up. They are extinct in the wild. They're very popular in the aquarium trade, but there's none left in the wild. And people are like, well, we should reintroduce them. It's like, where are you going to reintroduce them? Everywhere they're native to is gone. Like, you'd have to put them in like Colorado or something, so that way it stays a cold enough climate.
Yeah, I guess so. They're freshwater.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But then if you introduce them anywhere else, they're invasive. Like, it's a fine line there. I mean, yeah, we have them. They're very much alive, but they're extinct in the wild. But that's kind of what happened here. But it is the taking them from the wild that caused them to go extinct some. But they are rebuilding. And one thing that they are... So right now, the stony coral is only covering about 2% of the reef.
Okay.
A healthy coverage for stony coral. There are soft corals and other stuff too, but I'm not going to get into that. Stony ones are your stiff ones, the ones that don't flow around in the waves. A healthy coverage would be around 30 to 40%. And we're at 2%.
They're plants, right? Like coral?
They are technically animals.
Oh, okay.
They're technically... They have sexual reproduction. It's weird. They kind of live the life of a plant, but they're technically Like they eat their some can move around. Anemones, they actually can move around. They have like a little foot, kind of like a clam does, that they can scoot themselves around with.
Yeah, that stuff is so weird to me. I don't know, just underwater stuff is weird.
I love it.
It's fascinating. It just
Uh-huh.
It's so different from what we have on land.
Yeah. Yep. And like, freshwater and saltwater are so different from each other too.
Yeah, I bet. Like imagine if a tree could move.
That'd be so weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine like you go out to your garden and all of a sudden like the tomato plants are over at a different corner from what they used to be.
Yeah, you put some nice landscaping with bushes out in your front yard, and then you come out and they're all rearranged.
But their plans to restore it, it's kind of like a 3-step process. They take out a lot of the diseased stuff. So there was a tissue eating disease that was going around. Like it would literally destroy any coral that it was on.
Yeah.
So they took and they went through, and there's this thing called fragging. They would take little bits of the coral, not enough to kill it, but they're kind of like starfish in a way. You can break a part off and then you have two. So they were doing that with the healthy ones before they started removing the damaged and dead ones.
Yeah.
And there's huge facilities. There's also some areas off the coast of Florida where they have like PVC trees that they have coral planted all over. That's their nursery for them in the ocean. And what they're wanting to do is once they get a lot of, or they're kind of past this step now, once they have a lot of the dead and damaged stuff removed, they're starting to replant. And they're starting to replant with these stony corals because they are the most resistant to the disease.
Okay.
And once they get that kind of starting to take off again, they're going to start reintroducing some of the soft corals and brain corals and stuff like that. But before they can really start introducing the soft corals, they have to reintroduce a lot of fish. Because without the reef, a lot of the fish are gone.
Yeah.
Because there's fish that rely on eating coral or eating the stuff that lives around coral.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have to reintroduce a lot of fish. Mainly, they're looking at like tangs and stuff to help eat the algae. So like your really pretty, colorful saltwater fish.
Yeah.
Those are what they're going to be reintroducing. And once they get those taking off healthy and starting to reproduce on their own good, they are going to be replanting more of the soft corals. And they're kind of just doing it chunk by chunk across the whole reef. And their hopes are actually to start getting natural reproduction on the reef by 2030, which is awesome because that hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah.
But one really interesting thing that I found doing research into this is you can actually have your ashes after you die be crafted into a plug form rock thing for the corals. So what happens is whenever they take a frag off and they have that tiny little piece of coral, they stick it on a plug. Well, you can have your ashes be made into a rock that has perfect holes in it for those plugs to fit in. And you can become part of the reef one day.
Huh.
Yeah. I was like, that's kind of neat, but weird at the same time. But
yeah,
I guess something about like the ashes will help fertilize though too. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah, but they're actually making improvement with it, and like I said, they've been studying it since the 1900s, since the early 1900s. I think it was 1906 they started, and they're hoping that once they get to the point of adding more fish in, and you get all those beautiful looking aquarium fish, essentially, around this natural reef that is coming back to life. So you have all the really cool colors of coral and then the fish. It's going to bring in a lot more tourism and just help the Florida economy, essentially. So.
Yeah. Huh. So like I know the Great Coral Reef or Great Barrier Reef. What do they call that over
Australia.
near Australia?
Yeah. Great Barrier Reef.
Great Barrier Reef. Does scuba diving, snorkeling, does that hurt them at all, or is it?
So that is currently off limits at most spots of the Keys, of the Florida Keys. It can hurt them if you're not careful, but that's why a lot of the people that'll go snorkeling and stuff in the Great Barrier Reef have to either have a permit to do it, which it's not hard to get. You basically just have to pass a course saying, like, I understand I'm not supposed to touch anything.
Yeah.
Or there are guided ones, and they take you where you're able to go, and they make sure you don't do anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact about the Great Barrier Reef, it is home to the most deadly octopus on the earth.
Really?
And it's about the size of a quarter.
I will tell you, an octopus kind of creeps me out. They're the way they move and stuff.
Squeeze through a tiny, tiny little hole.
Yeah, there's that, but also they are so intelligent.
Well, they are. Like, I've seen people with them in aquariums, and they'll put in like Rubik's cubes and all these other toys. And like, you actually have to rotate the toys out, otherwise your octopus will get bored.
Yeah,
but the octopus will rotate parts of the Rubik's cube. Like, it won't match them up, but it'll rotate them.
Right.
Like, that's crazy.
I came across at one point a story of like an octopus that was in some kind of, I don't know if it was like a zoo or some kind of habitat, whatever, but it would get out of its tank and go.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Eat fish.
Yep.
And then it would be back in its tank
by morning, and it took them so long to realize what was happening. Yep.
And like, that is so creepy to me. Like, this thing is doing covert operations.
It knows when nobody else is around.
Yeah. And putting it like the lid back on its tank and just.
So that instance caused there to be new regulations at zoos and aquariums for octopus. They now have to use turf. They don't even have lids on the giant octopus enclosures. They use turf. They have roughly 2 feet of straight vertical turf going up, and then they have to have like a 4-foot area surrounding the entire top that's turf as well. So that way he thinks there's nothing but land.
Okay.
Because he can feel as much as he wants, and it's farther than what he can reach. And if there's nothing appealing to him there, then he's not going to try.
Huh.
It's kind of neat the way they do that. But yeah, I can see why those would kind of freak you out a little.
Like, I mean,
there's myths of the, what was it? The Kraken? Like,
yeah, right.
Like, there's big ones out there. There are giant Pacific octopus, and those things get huge. I mean,
I would rather go to space than like super deep sea in a submarine. You know, I think it would be neat to go scuba diving somewhere to go see stuff. But man, I'd want to
go more than 20 feet deep.
I'd rather come across a shark than an octopus. Like, if I was scuba diving and saw a big octopus, it would freak me out so bad.
Yeah, I mean, when those things grab onto you, you're not getting them off on your own.
No, and they're just weird. I always think, like, I don't know, it's like a nightmare scenario. If an octopus, and I did have a dream about it one time, which is probably why I consider it a nightmare scenario. But like an octopus that could live on land.
Yeah.
Just how creepy it is.
Would you ever see the videos of them changing color? Like, split second going from one rock to another, changing color the whole time? Like, that is weird.
Yeah, well, and that probably adds to the creepiness of it. Like, if I'm scuba diving and all of a sudden there's one there. Like, I did not see you. Holy crap.
Well, I mean,
get me
like,
out of here.
We grew up hunting. I mean, you're out there looking for deer. But all of a sudden, if you're walking in early in the morning and you jump some, it's just deer, but it scares the crap out of you.
Yeah, it makes so much noise. And, yeah.
So, yeah, that's definitely... This is another off-topic, kind of not-so-fun fact, but there was a robot that they sent down to like a very, very, very deep section of the ocean to the floor to do some like grabbing soil off the bottom and do some studying and stuff.
Yeah.
He actually found a plastic bag on the bottom of the ocean.
Wow.
At one of the deepest spots. It's like, that's kind of sad.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I still use plastic bags and stuff, okay? But like, it's ridiculous how much pollution there is, though.
Well, I'll tell you this. I know where my plastic bags go.
Yeah?
Yeah. They get dumped in a hole in the dirt in the middle of Montana. They are not going into the ocean. I can promise you that.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, could be good. I don't know. I'm sure there's people that'll say that's the worst thing to do too, though.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, what do you want us to do? Put it in space and have more space trash?
There's a lot of room in space.
Yeah, but...
So, do they, like, restrict boat travel around there?
They have restrictions, but it's not like you can't go over it or anything.
How deep is it there?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but I know parts of it are pretty deep.
Yeah.
The main restriction is like where you're allowed to anchor at.
Oh, okay. So just passing through isn't as bad.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The shallow spots you can't for obvious reasons, but
right. Well, and a lot of boats wouldn't even be able to.
Yeah.
The boats that you'd really be concerned with, bigger boats, you know, they wouldn't be able to travel in some of those areas.
But they're making progress, and that's awesome. Hopefully they can continue.
Yeah. Yeah, anytime I think of like underwater stuff, it's almost like a thriller TV show.
Yeah.
Where it's like I'm fascinated by this, but I'm also a little bit creeped out.
Yeah.
Or like I'm a little bit scared by it, but I kind of want to see the next episode. I kind of want to see it.
Yeah.
Yep. That's kind of how I feel about a lot of that.
I can get that. I get it. Well, that is all I had.
All right. Well, that was
Come back next time for more of the American Revolution.
Yes, more of America revoluting. I don't think that's a word, but no. I think my internet cut out. I think somebody's internet cut out. It might have been Joe's, because mine still seems to be up. Nope, mine is out. Well, I'm not sure if this is going to record, and I don't know if Joe's still talking, but if you haven't yet, please consider following the podcast, leave a rating, review, or a comment, and we'll catch you in the next one.